when mentally ill writers make comics. Get help, Mags. This video is not for kids, only adults who can send me money, drugs, and nudes. Just kidding. Well, not about the nudes. Hey, welcome to Bianca Fights the Zombies. I felt kind of bad for my last video. I was a little rough on Monday and Matt, so I changed the thumbnail. I had a picture of him just crying like a little girl, to a picture of Kevin Smith crying like a little girl. God, that Kevin Smith is such a shill. I mean, I guess he's in the industry, so he's kind of got no choice. His choices are either don't cover the garbage media that comes out at all, just skip over it, or if you cover it, you're gonna have to give it a good review. And I mean, he covers a lot of stuff, and he's so stoned and just soppy, and I like him, and I like his films, but to cry over The Last Jedi, that's like, it's just a big commercial. You know, it's really an anti-drug commercial. If anything will make you stop smoking pot, it's Kevin Smith crying over The Last Jedi. And you know that other guy did a YouTube video, that kind of chubby guy, who was just sobbing his eyes out over The Last Jedi. I really don't understand, because he's just a YouTuber who, the only benefits he gets is clicks and likes and Patreon dollars. I mean, he's not in the industry. At least Kevin Smith is in the industry making money. Anyway, so I changed the Mundane Matt thumbnail, because I don't know, I felt like he's got enough trouble. So anyway, who am I to laugh at him sobbing like a little bitch over getting 100,000 followers? Love him or hate him, it is an accomplishment, and it obviously means a lot to him. It's hard to feel bad for the guy, because he has a habit of trying to destroy people's channels, and that is unforgivable. You don't mess with people's money. That's like calling someone's employer to try to get them fired. That's what SJWs do. Don't be an SJW. Anyway, I'm going to try to be a little nicer for this video. I mean, the comic is still dog shit, but I will say a few nice things about it. Also, I think Mags is going to be found sitting in their running car with a bottle of pills and whiskey. Now, for me, that's just a good time, but Mags will have the garage door closed. I've read most everything of Mags's work that I could get a hold of, and Mags has issues. We all have issues, but Mags has back issues. It's a weird slice of life reading comics like his. He puts a lot of his issues into the prose. The same elements repeatedly present themselves. Depression and daddy issues. Mags is using comics as, I was going to say he's using it like therapy, but that isn't how therapy works. Therapy addresses issues. It brings fears out into the open. It brings them out often enough so that they're no longer scary. It just takes the sting out of them, or it gives you techniques to address issues and work through them, to put them in perspective or move past them. But you don't just wallow in the same resentments over and over again. You don't talk about your drinking problem for weeks. You go to AA and you stop drinking for 24 hours. Or if you're scared of spiders, you start studying them, and before you know it, the fear is gone. Yeah, it really works. Mags is fixated on his father issues. Fine. That's fine when you're 19, but by the time you're Mags's age, you need to move past it and make peace with it. Resentment is like drinking poison expecting someone else to die. Oh yeah, is this a struggle snuggle? This is some bizarro dream sequence of, I mean, basically these are his childhood character, so I don't know what is going on with this scene. But he looks like he's not enjoying it. At first I was going to make a joke about Ethan Van Sciver and Mike Miller and which one was which, but I thought that's kind of being bad taste, so I won't talk about that on this video. I'll just edit that out. Most of Mags's books are not comic books, and they are just the same variations on the same theme. Mags is depressed. Mags has body issues. He feels like he's alienated, wants to be loved but hates himself, and has daddy issues. In terms of writing, he's just grinding the axe. I know Mags has read better authors. In this book, I think he mentions Frankenstein, which is one of my favorite sci-fi books. I read it every few years along with Lord of the Rings and a few others. So, Mags, let me ask you, why didn't you try to write like these real writers? I understand comics have to be simplified, but you're not even writing like bad Marvel or DC. You're writing like someone printed their comics at home. You're not trying to tell the character's story. You're telling Brian Visaggio's story into his transition into Mags Visaggio. So like I mentioned before, why not just pull the trigger, don't take that literally, and actually tell Brian Visaggio's story. Just get it out of your system. Make it a half dozen issues. It probably won't sell, but, nothing you write sells very well, but just write it. Get it out of your system and move on. And who knows? If it was an honest exploration into the life of Brian Visaggio in his transition, it might sell. I mean, it would sell better than this, which is not selling very well at all, but for the love of God, can you just get an artist? Please, for once. I've never seen Mags with a good artist. Ever. Every time I read his stuff, I know that he's getting closer to making a permanent decision to a temporary problem. Hey, maybe I'm just projecting here, and I'm way off base. I hope I am. But they do have a 41% rate pre-surgery and a 41% rate post-surgery. So that tells us that the body issues isn't the critical point. The underlying mental illness is. Treat the depression with medication and therapy, and this whole cross-dressing stuff will magically disappear. But for some reason, it's not politically correct to mention these things. Shouldn't the first goal be to save lives and reduce that 41%? If Mags wasn't a purse puppy, he or she, whatever, would be selling insurance, making a great living. He'd probably have a few kids and a happy family. Actually, now that I think about it, the industry treating him as a special purse puppy, not to be criticized, nominated for Eisner Awards, has actually hurt his writing, because he never got any honest feedback after he's changed his name from Brian to Mags. He went from just being Brian the bad writer into stunning and brave Mags, never to be criticized again, because to criticize her is now istophobic. And every day is 1984. We were always at war with Oceania. Once you're in the LGBT, the days of honest feedback are long gone. Sina Grace, Mags, and the other gay folk in comics are there simply because they're a check in a diversity checklist. Not to put too fine a point on it, they both are pretty bad. But not only are they bad in the prosaic narrative sense, but also for the self-insertion and identity politics, both of which should be left out of your comics entirely. If you're a master storyteller, maybe you can work in a theme. But people like Mags, Sina, Gail Simone, Mark Waid, and the rest, they are not master storytellers, and they will never be. And I think that they would probably admit this. Not to say Sina and Mags don't have potential. They totally do. But they're like vegans who do CrossFit and yoga and they don't eat gluten. They can't keep their nonsense to themselves. The problem is they're either dumb or they have been in a far left echo chamber for so long that they think everybody thinks like they do. If Brian Visaggio were trying to write comics, he'd be given honest feedback because he would just be some greasy Italian guy. But he would improve every year. Sorry, greasy Italian guys, that kind of just slipped in. Once he put on lipstick and started shooting himself with hormones, the improvement stopped. If anything, he regressed into childhood. This comic has a bunch of guys dressed as women, and I have to admit that I don't understand that very well. If you're a man with male anatomy, aren't male clothes made to fit you? At least in Kim and Kim, they sort of try to look like chicks. In this comic, they clearly are just men wearing ladies' clothes. Maybe I'm just not imaginative enough. Here's the thing with trannies. If you're short and petite, maybe you can pull off the tranny thing. I live in the gayest place on earth. I see men in dresses all the time. You gotta know the looks that you can pull off. If you're tall and broad-shouldered with a narrow waist, you are always going to look like a man in a dress. When you scare the horses, it's time to stop. But I'm for Team Accelerate It. Burn it all to the ground so even normies can see what's up. The more men that compete in women's sports, the better. If enough men win scholarships that would have gone to women, then they'll learn that this nonsense has consequences. Hey, we want men in dresses in preschools with your kids. Oh, what's that? They're felons with a history of hurting kids? Well, don't be a bigot. Love has no number. 357 is a number. Anyway, my point is that a comic with a bunch of men in dresses is only going to appeal to a very limited audience. All the trannies I know, and yes, I do know trannies, I get high with them all the time, they like to look at beautiful people. Actually, the LGBT, the guys, trannies and gays and whatnot, they're actually pretty shallow. They're not like you people are portrayed, not like they're portrayed in comics and movies and TV and stuff. They're really into their looks. And they're really kind of catty. It's kind of funny. It's funny to hang out with them and not, you know. Anyway, a comic has to give the customer something. You can't have a boring story. My buddy is into that scene, so that's why I get to. And he also delivers. Oh, never mind. A comic has to give the customer something. You can't have a boring story, bad art, and men in dresses. Who is the comic written for? Mags pisses me off because he you know, I might do an interview with them later tonight, so that should be interesting. So I don't know who this comic is written for. Like I say, Mags does have potential, and I know Zach disagrees that Zach has been reading bad comics for so long that his mind is just fractured. Anyway, the first issue shipped 2,800. The second, it's down to 1,600. By number 3, it's down to 1,200. This issue is number 5, so it's probably at about 1,000. That is just some jerk-off's vanity project. What this is doing is you're taking up space that could go to other comics that could sell. What's the comic actually about? It's about a massively depressed writer who needs therapy and to stop taking hormones given to him by doctors who are the worst people on earth. Hey doc, I identify as a woman. Give me estrogen. Hey doc, I identify as a vampire victim. Drain all my blood. Mags thinks that after the revolution, people like Mags will be in charge. People like Mags and the doctors who mutilated him will be put against the wall and given a last cigarette. I took a quick look at his Twitter, but it's sad. It's a 40-year-old dude tried way too hard. He keeps changing his name, his Twitter name, to be so random, whatever's clever at the moment. Mags, you're just a dude in a dress who needs to take himself less seriously. Have a coffee, take a puff, and sit down and just write a fun, simple story about normal men and women. They get an adventure, they have some romance, no depression, no LGBT, no daddy issues. People read comics. Listen, everyone's got depression and daddy issues and all kinds of issues. We don't want to wallow in it. We want it to escape it. Just wallowing in this kind of depression is just like a dog rolling around in filth. Take a look at Cyberfrog, Lone Star, Jawbreakers, Flying Sparks. Do what they are doing. Most gay people do not care about seeing gays represented in comics. So 99% of your potential customers don't want to see the gay stuff, or at least they don't care. They'll buy it without the gay stuff. But the gay stuff is like a limiting reagent for the straight people who won't buy it. So why would you? I mean, you're selling 1,000 issues, where if you just cut out the gay stuff, you'd probably be selling 10,000 issues. If your next series comes out with no gay agenda, the Twitter idiots would go crazy. But they weren't buying your comics anyway. Your series are selling 900 by issue 5, and they're canceled by issue 6. Then you just get hired to do another comic that will open at 3,000, then get canceled after 4 or 5 issues. That's not exaggeration. Kim and Kim has done 3. It was done 3 separate times. It never sold more than 5 issues. Yet we all know the name Kim and Kim and Mags Visaggio. I hope Netflix does pick up his Star Wars ripoff, because if he starts writing TV shows, 1, they'll suck, and 2, he'll stop writing comics. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll see Kim and Kim on Netflix. 2 dudes who cruise around the galaxy pretending to be a much gayer version of Boba Fett, and with more daddy issues. And oh, there's a giant talking stork in the comic. I'm pretty sure that is a gay code for something, but I have no idea what. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, click the links to send me art or donate to the channel, buy a t-shirt. Maybe next video will be on the world-class BSers situation. I think his name is Jeff Hicks. That comic is the first big screw-up in COMICSGATE, but without reading the terms of the contract, it's hard to say more. But no, your comic is not supposed to be shipped without an envelope. It's not a National Geographic, and if I had to guess, I would assume it was just a shipping error or miscommunication. But it is definitely a black eye for COMICSGATE. It could be fixed just by refunding everyone's money and fixing the printing and shipping mistakes. There was some printing that was printed off the page. The comic book hut is covering it, and Jesse Milestone is screaming at him. The hut has every right to cover the issue. I hope Jeff just bites the bullet and issues refunds, then deals with the printer privately. Just because we're COMICSGATE doesn't mean that we're going to accept garbage. I mean, this is kind of the problem I had with some of the earlier COMICSGATE stuff is, I remember the StarWarsGirl looked at Cyberfrog and she said it wasn't up her alley. And that people were not cool with that. And that's all she said. It's like, yeah, she kind of gave it a little review, looked at it, said, the art's great. It's just not her character. And yeah, it's not a lot of our characters. We like EVS and want to support his comic. That's fine. You got an extra $35, no problem. But the Frog isn't for everyone. I read the 90s Frogs. I thought it was pretty funny. So it's pretty cool. But like Jawbreakers and Iron Sights are more up my alley. And I did review someone's comic once, and I don't think I'm going to do that again. Not in COMICSGATE, because turns out people in COMICSGATE, the artists and the writers in COMICSGATE, they're actually really, really sensitive. And it didn't go out. It didn't work out well for me. But yeah, if you get something shipped without an envelope, it apparently was shipped without an envelope, without any protection whatsoever, not even saran wrap, and the address, your home address, was stamped on the back. Now, if it was some kind of like newsprint comic, and that was, it would have to be a lot cheaper, and that was part of the shipping deal. It's like, that's part of the deal. It's like, it's going to be just shipped out like that. It's not a collector's item, or it is a collector's item, and the safer the shipping is, if you get the luck of the draw, and you get a good copy, then it's going to be worth more. But no, these are not. It's not a collector's item. You would have to say, okay, well, the shipping's only going to be $1, and the comic's only going to be $15 instead of $25 and $5 or $10 shipping. People might be okay with that. And be like, all right, fine. It'll be a little beat up, but it's still a readable issue. That's fine with me. But you can't charge $25 and $10 for shipping, and other people are putting them in sealed bubble wrap mailers or cardboard protective things, that kind of stuff. So this is the first big screw up for COMICSGATE. But I'll take a look at it. Jeff did release a video saying he was on it, but really, and he said he'd take care of it, but really he needs to come out and just say, guys, I'll refund your money. What I can do is, I don't know, I would maybe have him say, okay, tear off the front cover, send me a photo, email me a photograph of you tearing off the front cover, and I'll just issue refunds, or just go ahead and issue refunds to everyone regardless, because apparently there's printing on it where it was printed outside the text box and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of not so good. I want to talk about this. I reviewed this comic once before. It's the blonde girl and the redheaded girl doing something bad. And this is so funny to me, because it's usually with these propaganda comics written by these type of people, they will use I don't know, some brown people with black hair, black eyes, to be the good guys, the protagonists. But the reason they're using, I don't know, what is that called, where it's like blondish red and red hair as the protagonist, is because they're doing something that is not morally clear. So they don't want to use POCs in this position, so they use POLs. And these people, if you look at their social media history, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They're the worst people on earth. So when this next one comes out, I'll be taking a look at it. I can't wait for the next BB Free to come out. I think that comes out in 2 days, December 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that. It comes out in a couple days. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. There's so many good, bad comics coming out. This kind of comic, actually, a lot of these comics that Mags Visaggio is selling, and the ones that are in the back, advertised in the back, these are these cringe comics that I've seen for the past I don't know, 20 years that, you see them in Berkeley bookstores, and they look like they were printed at home. Just really, really crappy printing, stupid stories, but they're really try hard. And it's like a little black girl on a cover skateboarding. Well, do black girls do? Or I don't know if that's a girl or boy. Probably a girl because it's a pink skateboard. Do black girls do a lot of skateboarding? Do chicks in general do a lot of skateboarding? No. So why'd you put a black girl on a skateboard? Because they can do anything they want, man. Stop being the man, keeping me down. Okay, all right. From the world of Cal exit, if California exited from the Republic, keep in mind California is about 50% Mexican now. It would quickly devolve into Mexico. Oh, California is the 7th largest economy in the world. Yeah, what's its debt levels? And what's its federal... I mean, how much money does it take from the feds? How much money does it take from the Midwestern taxpayers to support basically Mexican Americans who are, not paying taxes? And we're getting free health care and free police services and free roads and free water and free sewage and free... You get the idea. That's another topic. Where's he? They had another one. These just try hard stuff. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Send me your art. No more nudes, Mike and Ethan. At BiancaZombie602gmail.com. Join the Discord. You can, send me private information on the email. Or you can click the Patreon, the PayPal, the coffee, or the Teespring store to take a look at the t-shirts. The t-shirts are kick ass. And I will try to do this interview with this guy tonight and his friend about The Watchmen, about Catgirl, about all this woke stuff. This guy's a media expert, and he's a good guy, but he's an interesting character. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, I'll see you next episode.